maybe I'm crazy, but I have a $1 billion idea for the NFL. I'm willing to give it to them for free. I don't even need recognition for it. It's just going to make my life easier and I'll be less annoyed. And I'm willing to do a lot of things to be not annoyed. We'll get to that later.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
Welcome to Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. We have Anita Marks on the show today. She's a friend of mine. She does radio for ESPN and hosts shows for ESPN in New York. She has a lot of good gambling scoops, by the way, too. So if you like to make the money, she's a good follow on Twitter at Anita Marks. We're going to talk a bunch of NFL with her. We will also talk about the Browns. I obviously have a lot more thoughts on them. LAMAR Jackson and the New England Patriots. Big win for the Ravens. There was a chunky little kitty on Monday Night Football. And I have some conspiracies about it. That was a fat cat. Whoa, like with the wiggle when he bounced. Like, that cat eats good. He doesn't even get leftovers. That cat gets actual food. Like, first. Yes, he was king cat. High key, low key, Odell, that is tied to my $1 billion idea for the NFL. The Dolphins messed up the tank, not a shocker. And the NBA has been awesome so far this year. And we'll get to our losers as well. But let's start with Anita Marks. All right, I'm very excited to have Anita Marks on. She is the host and analyst for ESPN's Daily Wager gambling show, Monday through Friday and Sunday morning on ESPN2. And she's also a radio host on ESPN Radio in New York City. And I know her from my time at CBS, when she would often be a guest with myself, Jamie Eisenberg, and Dave Richard on Fantasy Football Today. And I remember, Anita, you saved one of my fantasy football seasons because I wasn't hip to Odell Beckham Jr. And you came on and you dropped a nice little nugget. And I went ahead and picked him up. He was available in my league inexplicably. I know that sounds insane to talk about today, but yeah, you gave me a bunch of wins that year with Odell. So I always appreciate that.
Could you, can we marinate in that for a minute? But the majority of people that had Odell Beckham Jr. on their fantasy football roster picked him up off the waiver wire that year. Because if you recall, when the Giants drafted him, he came on board and he had some hamstring issues. And so he didn't play for the first 3 weeks. But I worked with the Giants. I was a part of their broadcast team for about 6 years. So I was there at practice and got to see up close and personal just how phenomenal he was. And I knew that the minute that he was going to be active, that he was going to blow up. And so I'm glad that you reaped the benefit, Joy.
You and I are very different in that regard, because if I was the one who had the scoop on Odell Beckham Jr., I wouldn't meet a human person and not tell them that I did that. So I give you full credit for that in general. But now he is with the Cleveland Browns. He's no longer with the disaster that is the New York Giants. He's with the Cleveland Browns, who are also quite a disaster themselves. There's many reasons why they're going through what they're going through, but what is your opinion about why the Browns are having the season that they're having?
It's really hard when an organization has been as bad as the Browns have been for so long to change a culture that is permeated within an organization. It's really, 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 really hard. So just like the foundation in regard to like just how bad the Browns have been, and to like turn that energy, you've got to change like everybody in the building. Like I don't think people realize, like, you know, when guys go to work, when players go to work and they walk into their facility, it's like they're there all day, from like the cafeteria staff to the marketing department to and so it's really, really hard. You have all these people who've worked for the Browns organization for so long that have just gotten so used to losing and have this like kind of negativity around the organization. So that's first and foremost. Okay. Number two, I think when you look at the makeup of the roster, it's a lot of millennials. It's a lot of me. It's a lot of big personalities. And there's not a lot of veteran leadership in there that are really going to take, let's say, Baker Mayfield aside and say, hey, listen, you actually want the media to like you, because your life will be a lot easier, especially in the long run, when the media like you. Or, you know, or Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Hey, guys, there are rules in place that we must follow to make our lives a lot easier. And that is, the cleats we wear need to either be black, white, or our team colors. So let's not color outside the line. Let's make life easy for all of us. It's like little things like that just keep on happening with the organization that derailing the chemistry within the locker room. So that's 2. Number 3, I think Freddie Kitchens has been way over his head, in regard to lack of experience of being a head coach, not having the respect, I think, from a number of guys in that locker room. Like, for example, do you think any of this extra stuff that's happening off the football field would even one little iota happen with Bill Belichick in that Patriots locker room?
That's a no.
Heck no, Joy. It wouldn't. So there's just not one thing. There's a magnitude of things that are happening with that franchise and that organization, and the reason they've only won 2 games. And you've heard this before. Winning is the ultimate deodorant. And we all thought that they were going to beat the Denver Broncos last week, right? Against a quarterback who had never completed a pass in a regular season NFL game, and they lost to Denver. So now, the sky is falling, I would imagine. And now you've got the Buffalo Bills coming to town, whose defense is very similar to Denver's, who actually has a better quarterback in Josh Allen. I'm telling you what, if that line goes up to 3.5, I'm taking the Bills +3, +3.5 right now, because I think things got even a lot worse in Cleveland this week.
Another team that is going through some pitiful woes, and I think just listening to you talk about the Browns, which, by the way, I agree with literally everything you just said. Another team that's going through what I think you just described is the New York Jets. Now, they have similarities in that they both have talent. They both have their quarterback. They both have a strong running back, and they have some pieces around the team that would make you think that this team is going to be a lot better than they are. Now, in all fairness to the Jets, Darnold did have mono, so that kind of X'd out this season for me with them. But, they still have some expectations this season. So what's happening with the Jets?
Again, how much time do you have on this podcast?
Right.
A few things. Number one, definitely Sam Darnold coming down with mono. It started this domino effect, right? Like, no Sam Darnold, and then from there, Simeon got knocked out of the game and his season was over. And so now this is a Jets organization that's coming in, and they're having to play with their third-string quarterback, Luke Falk, okay, who it was just horrible. So now what happened? They're losing on the offensive side of the ball. I think they were hoping to get Chris Herndon, their tight end, back sooner than they could. On the defensive side of the ball, C.J. Mosley, who is so keep in mind, C.J. Mosley is their linebacker, who is their quarterback of the defense, who's out because of a very significant groin injury, and Sam Darnold, who is their quarterback, obviously, who's their field general on the offensive. So both their leaders on the offensive and defensive side of the ball are out and are not playing for the first few weeks of the season. So in regard to, roster and talent and star players, they were lacking. That's number one. Number two, and what has really kind of been revealed here is there's a lot of question marks whether or not is Adam Gase a good head coach. The question mark right now is Adam Gase's offense. A, it doesn't fit Le'Veon Bell. I don't know how you pay a running back as much money as the Jets are paying him and only give him 15, 18 touches a game. That just blows my mind.
Right.
But what's really being revealed here, and what's really interesting when you look around the landscape of the NFL, Joy, there are coaches out there that have a system. Like, for example, when Ben McAdoo was with the Giants, all Ben McAdoo knows is the 3 wide receiver set system, 11%. That's all he knows. That's his system. I'm going to plug this one in here. I'm going to plug that one in there. I'm going to plug that one in there. And this is how we're going to play. So apparently, from what I'm gathering, all Adam Gase knows is Peyton Manning's system. And maybe Peyton Manning's system doesn't fit Sam Darnold. And in this day and age in the NFL, you need to know more than just one system. In order to have success and be this offensive genius, and Adam Gase is calling the plays here, you have to know more than just one system, especially when you don't have the horses in your stable to run the one system you know. You've got to adapt, and you've got to change. And he's not capable of doing that. And that is what has revealed itself. And so there's a lot of question marks whether or not Adam Gase is the guy for this Jets franchise and this Jets organization. And if the organization decides to get rid of him, now you've got Sam Darnold, this poor Sam, his third coach in 3 years. Now you're setting him back another year, having to learn a new system, having to get familiar with a new coach. So it's a mess here in New York. It's very interesting because going into the season, boy, everyone was like, boy, how great is it to be a Jets fan right now?
Right.
You know, the Jets have always been the ugly stepchild to the Giants for so many years. Oh, they finally got their quarterback in Sam Darnold. Oh, they go out to get Le'Veon Bell. Oh, man, this is going to be a great year. Jets are going to win like 9 games. Maybe they'll try to get into postseason as a wild card. Oh, boy, are we far from it. So, when you're looking at this organization, they're both not good. It's a sad state of affairs here in New York, Joy.
Yeah, it's a downer all around. Let's switch to something not so negative. The Ravens are a super. You're just bringing the hammer today. I like it. The Ravens have been tremendous this year. I was pretty off on the 49ers and the Ravens this year. I didn't know what to expect from Lamar Jackson, and what I was hearing from the Ravens kind of made me nervous in the offseason because they were talking about kind of just letting Lamar Jackson run as much as possible. And I really felt like in order for Lamar to take his game to the next level in the NFL, he was going to have to develop a pocket presence and be able to throw the ball much better than he did in his rookie year. And to the Ravens' credit, not only have they developed him in an incredible way, you can tell that he worked on his body in the offseason as well. How far can the Ravens go? Do you feel like they're limited, or should we just consider them as a straight up Super Bowl contender?
Well, I'm going to answer your question. I think the Ravens win the AFC North, and I think they're a true contender based on, if you're looking at the AFC and you already have said, all right, the Patriots are going to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. You were watching the game that took place this past week and how what the Ravens are able to do counteracts everything that the Patriots have had a lot of success doing against bad teams. So I think the Ravens can go very far based on their makeup, offense, defense, and special teams, to answer your question. But I'm going to go even further with you when you talk about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, because they need a lot of credit here. As you know, the Ravens, they traded back into the bottom of the first round to get Lamar Jackson at 32. Okay, they traded with the Eagles. I said this prior to the draft. I felt Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback coming out. But he needed to go to a team that was going to build an offense around him. And you have to credit Steve Bisciotti, who, by the way, is my favorite owner in the NFL. At the time, Ozzie Newsome, now Eric DeCosta, is the general manager. Okay? This is what they've done, Joy. This is amazing. Okay? And not enough people are talking about this. They have aligned themselves with the University of Oklahoma. Look at their roster. Take a look at their roster, Joyce. What they've done is they are drafting players from the University of Oklahoma. They've got two starting offensive linemen on their offensive line, and I believe they have other offensive linemen that aren't starting but are on their roster. Mark Andrews, stud tight end, Oklahoma. Justice Hill, who we haven't even tapped into yet this season. This dude is a video machine, and he hasn't even gotten a lot of playing time. Marquise Brown. Yep, you guessed it, Oklahoma. So what are they doing? They are using the University of Oklahoma as a farming system. And on top of that, they are taking coaches from the University of Oklahoma and they're bringing them in during OTAs and training camp and working with their staff to implement plays. And it's amazing. They are, in my opinion, one step ahead of the game because they look at Oklahoma, they see how Oklahoma plays, they're integrating some NFL tendencies as well, and feeling this is the system that Lamar Jackson can thrive in and do great things in. And oh, by the way, they recruit well. So we're going to draft from the University of Oklahoma so that those young men who come in to start playing for the Ravens, the transition is seamless because they already know the playbook and they already understand the lingo. It's fascinating what the Ravens are doing. It's beyond just drafting Lamar Jackson and saying, okay, we're going to build an offense around you. They're actually using the University of Oklahoma as a farm system. It's fascinating.
That is a straight up.
I'm surprised no one has done more research on this.
Yeah, no, that's a straight up Illuminati hack right there that you just revealed.
It's unbelievable, and I credit the Ravens. So here's the thing, Joy. Lamar Jackson would not have this success. We're sitting here talking. Do you know right now? Odds for him to win the MVP now the same as Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's having an amazing season, and as much as I love Lamar Jackson, and I'm so thrilled for his success, he's blessed that he went to the Ravens, and the Ravens are doing this the right way. It's really a phenomenal story.
So in the NFC, I know everyone is freaking out about the 49ers, and obviously they're having an incredible season. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. However, I continue to argue that the Saints are the best team in the NFL. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, they lost Drew Brees for 5 weeks and went undefeated. Now, Teddy Bridgewater is obviously a starting quarterback in the NFL. Everyone just forgot that. But they also were a smart enough team to plan ahead for having a capable backup quarterback in case anything happened to Drew Brees. So maybe I'm off on that, but I still think if it comes down to the Saints and the 49ers, I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, listen, and rightfully you should. You know what's really interesting this season is this season more than ever, how much should we respect and value the backup quarterback position?
Right.
I mean, it's really unbelievable.
It's been the year of the backup.
Yeah, exactly. God forbid anything happens to Drew Brees. Boy, Saints got to feel great that they got Teddy Bridgewater sitting there in the wing. And Taysom Hill, by the way, who I love. Even the New England Patriots. And listen, I love Jared Stidham. That's the quarterback that they went out and they drafted in the 4th round this year. And I do believe he will be the next heir apparent whenever Tom Brady wants to ride off in the sunset with his avocado ice cream. But Stidham's not ready. Patriots wouldn't win a Super Bowl if Tom Brady got injured. There are at least 80 to 85% of the teams in the NFL wouldn't even win another game if their backup quarterback came in. So hands down, Teddy Bridgewater coming in and the Saints not losing, unbelievable. And it also says a lot about Sean Payton. I think one of the best coaches in the NFL. They're a very balanced team. Even you saw Alvin Kamara has been out for a while.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray comes in. They don't miss a beat, right? Drew Brees leaves or gets injured, right? Teddy Bridgewater comes in. They don't miss a beat. They arguably have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in Thomas. Jared Cook has been okay, but they're very balanced and they have a really, really good defense. They're just the most balanced team in the NFL. And so in looking at the NFC, so here's who I have coming out of the NFC. In the NFC East, I have the Eagles. I know the Cowboys won. I think they're 14 days off. They weren't ready. They're such a better team than the Giants. I think the 14 days off, they just had a slow start last night. But I still think the Eagles win the NFC East. I do believe the Packers win the NFC North. I think the Saints win the NFC South. I have San Francisco winning the NFC West. And I've got Seattle and then either Carolina or the Vikings getting as a wild card. And out of all those teams, yeah, I mean, listen, the San Francisco 49ers are amazing. Their defense is sick. Kyle Shanahan definitely should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year this year.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to the 49ers and the Saints for the NFC Championship and the Saints winning it, going back and, hey, who's not going to root for them? Poor team. They were really kind of screwed over, right, the last 2 years. So in my opinion, third time's a charm for them. Who wouldn't be rooting for them after what's happened to them the past 2 years? Yeah,
and I don't want to make it sound like I think 49ers fans think I'm a hater. I'm really not. It's just, sometimes I just gotta be that annoying person that goes with my gut. And also what I said about Teddy Bridgewater, which everything you just said is true. But also what I think it comes down to in those moments, and it's kind of what we saw in the Super Bowl last year with Sean McVay and Bill Belichick, Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been there before, and Shanahan and Garoppolo haven't. And playoff football, as we know, really all playoffs and all sports come down to situations and moments and who doesn't mess up and who makes the big play. So if it came down to that moment, I would go with the Saints as well. It's just the experience that I would lean on in that situation. So real quickly, before I let you go, you mentioned the Cowboys quickly. I have my Super Bowl prediction before the season started was Chiefs and Cowboys. Chiefs winning, partly because Fox has the Super Bowl and I really want the biggest ratings ever. And that would be a crazy Super Bowl. I would take some alternatives, but what do you think of the Cowboys last night? Because people I feel like constantly find a reason to not believe in the Cowboys. Like, that was a road win against a division rival. Like, why are people always questioning the Cowboys?
That's a great question. I feel Dak gets a raw deal all the time. Maybe it's Jerry Jones. Maybe it's because people are just tired of them being associated with America's team. I like the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I think it's going to come down to the wire between them and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not saying that the Eagles are going to run away with this thing. So my pick for the Super Bowl was Eagles, Chargers.
Ooh.
I'm telling you what. Chargers are getting healthy. Chargers, keep an eye on the Chargers. If the Chargers make it to the postseason as a wild card, Joy, watch out for them. Watch out.
I'll take your word for it because I trust you on a lot of stuff, but it is the Chargers at the end of the day. But thank you so much for coming on with us. I really appreciate it. Again, you can check out Anita. It's just Anita Marks on Twitter, right?
Right, Anita Marks on Twitter, and I just want to let you know, I know I hit you up a lot on when you're doing the show with Colin, but so I typically prep from home. I work from home a lot, and I've got all the sports shows on, so I watch you guys pretty much every day, if not like maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and I think you do a phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you.
I'm really proud of you, and it's great that you're in our industry, and it's great that you represent women in our industry, because I think you do a great job, Joy.
Thank you, Anita. You too. You've been a big inspiration to me as well, because you are always on your stuff and you're excellent at what you do. And yes, Anita does give me scoops. So she'll be in my DMs like, no, this is what's really happening. And she's very rarely wrong. But thank you so much, Anita. Again, you can check her out on ESPN's Daily Wager Gambling Show Monday through Friday and Sunday morning on ESPN2 and also on ESPN Radio in New York. Thanks, Anita.
You got it.
With it. With it. Quit it.
What?
With it. We about to turn up in this bitch.
All right, Heller, what am I winning or quitting today?
All right, Cleveland is known as the rock and roll capital of the world, and the Browns might be the land's most tragic power ballad. This Sunday's sob story saw struggling signal caller Baker Mayfield engineer 3 times as many facial hair looks as touchdown passes. Joy, the Browns are only dangerous to themselves. Wit it or quit it.
There was a lot of thought and effort put into that intro, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great tee up. With it, they are only dangerous to themselves. What's happening with the entire world reacting to how bad the Browns are is really all our fault. It's not Cleveland fans' fault, because this is what Cleveland fans do. They hype up an otherwise mediocre team and manage to convince the rest of the sports world that they're in contention, and they're really not. They do this with all of their teams, and it's our fault for falling for it. So I don't blame them. Most sports franchises, fans are realistic about the expectations and what they can be that year. Not the Browns. They're going to go to the Super Bowl every single year. I dare you to try and tell a Browns fan otherwise. I don't get it, but that's how they live their lives. So I just only moderately judge them for that. I ignored all of my experience and wisdom when it comes to the Browns and fell under the spell of the lake. And nothing about the situation is surprising when you really think about it. Cleveland is worse than they were last year at this time. You can say what you want about Hugh Jackson, but they didn't have this talent on the team last year, and they were 2-5-1 this time last year, and they are now 2-6. So do with that what you will. That loss to the Broncos was tragic. There's no other way to put it. It wasn't bad. It was tragic. Some guy named Brandon Allen, who had never sniffed a blade of grass on an active NFL field, okay, beat the Cleveland Browns in an actual NFL football game. And credit to the Broncos. Like, I thought they were going to get blown out, and I still don't believe in the Broncos. So I just like Broncos fans getting on my case about it. Like, you're still going to have a losing season, so just relax, all right? But I mean, that's a horrible loss to the Browns. And I don't believe in this idea that, like, you have to blow everyone out, because that's just not realistic. These are still professionals, and it's any given Sunday. It's a game of inches, all right? All that nonsense. But for real, like, you can lose any Sunday. This is not college football where, like, you know, to quote Colin, Panera Bread University has a chance against Alabama. It's not how this works. However, the Browns should have won that game, if not convincingly, played a great game and beat the Broncos. Like, that's what should have happened. And that loss was terrible. And Baker Mayfield is not playing well. He has the lowest passer rating in the NFL when not under pressure this season. He's the only quarterback with more interceptions than touchdown passes when not pressured.
That's bad.
And that's that what I just said is not good. That's not a good stat to have. We had Aqib Talib on the herd earlier today, and he basically just verified everything that we've been saying about Baker Mayfield. What he didn't add is that he runs backwards, but he kind of explains why. So what Baker does is he goes through one read, and then he takes off running. He spins out to the right, and then he either gets tackled or throws it away, and that's why these stats are what they are. Now, obviously, he's under pressure in this situation, so that doesn't even apply to this. However, the point is, Baker runs backwards because guess what? NFL teams, they've got film they watch and professionals that break it down. So they tell defense, guess what? If he misses his first read, just go ahead and mosey over there to that side of the field because that's where he's going to be standing, and then you can just run after him. And he's going to throw it away, or he's going to take a sack, or he's going to throw an interception because those are the options there. And because he's certainly not going to, he's not going to complete a pass in that situation. And the reason he's running backwards, as I mentioned, is because defenses know that's happening. So that's where it goes. That's how it all works. So what's the issue, right? What is the issue with the Browns? As Anita Marks said, there's really not one thing to put it on, but this is how I see it. Freddie isn't ready, and you can't fool players. And he has no resume or experience. And while I would love to see Freddie Kitchens be successful, and I like people getting opportunities, and I don't blame Freddie for taking the job. Of course he should take that job. I blame the Browns organization for putting Freddie in this position. And not to devalue Freddie, but more importantly, Baker, your number one overall pick, which, as we know, Cleveland as a city, as sports city, really likes to mess up the number one overall pick. Anthony Bennett. Anyway, the point is you have a number one overall pick in Baker Mayfield. Recognize what he does well, recognize what he doesn't do well, put pieces around him to help him do better, and get a head coach that has not only worked with a young quarterback before, but has a resume that players respect. You can't tell me that there's not a head coach of a college football team that has had success, sustained success, a respectable resume, who was not interested in becoming an NFL head coach. Freddie Kitchens had never even been hired as an offensive coordinator, let alone a head coach. That matters. I'm sorry, but it just matters. You have to be able to stand in front of a room and command the attention of a bunch of grown men who make millions of dollars and convince them to go run through a wall for you. And if you don't have that, you can't do that. And John Dorsey knows he doesn't have that. That's why he hired Freddie Kitchens. And that's my point. They don't have a culture in Cleveland. There's nothing inspirational or respectable about being hired because the GM is going to be able to control you. We all have jobs. If you know that your boss really doesn't have any power, what do? You focus on the person that has power in the building, and you do what they want. That's just how it works. It's just human nature. That's how all this goes. And to me, it's a sign of weakness if you hire someone that you feel like you can just control, rather than hiring the best person for the job who's going to make everyone around him better, make you better, help you make decisions about who to draft, about who to start, about what the game plan is, what the future of your franchise is, what you can do to make your number one overall pick better. If you hire for ego and power, you fail. And that's what's happening. And that's the culture. And that's what's going on with the Browns. And unfortunately, I don't know if Freddie Kitchens is going to be there next year. So what does that mean? That means that Baker Mayfield will have had Hugh Jackson, Greg Williams.
Greg Williams, the bounty guy?
That guy. Freddie Kitchens.
Quicker picker upper bounty?
Freddie Kitchens. And then whoever else they bring in next year. So, based off of that, and if that happens, which whether it's this year or next year, this is what I feel is going to happen. Baker Mayfield has not been set up for success in the NFL because he's not that talented to overcome all of that. And it all rolls downhill. That's just gravity. So if you're looking for the problem with the Browns, it's all the way to the top. It's not at the bottom. You can't, like LeVar said last week, you can't go through all these players and all this talent and all these coaches, and it's just all the coaches and the players. We just can't get the right guy in the building. No, one of these guys was the right guy, and you messed up, and that's just what it is. It's a colossal and utter disaster. This guy's in the building. That man, okay, is in
OBJ.
He wears Browns colors and other colors when he wants to as well.
He got that Browns colored rolls too.
He's
committed.
Is on your team. He is playing for the Cleveland Browns. and you can't figure it out. So like I don't have any sympathy for what's going on with the Browns right now. It is the front office and the ownership's fault. And until I'm not gonna say they're sell a team, but until you hold a mirror up and figure out what you're doing wrong, this is just gonna continue. They're gonna win a couple games for the rest of the season, so Browns fans, calm down. It's not the end of the world. All right, what's next?
Okay, so let's stay in the AFC North, but we'll talk about good teams now.
Okay.
With 20 years separating them in age, Tom Brady is old enough to be Lamar Jackson's father. However, it was Jackson's Ravens that sunned Brady's Patriots in Week 9 with a mostly dominant 37-20 win. Lamar was electric, and New England looked shocked. Joy, the Ravens are a legit Super Bowl contender. Wit it or quit it.
Wit it. I knew this was going to happen. I had a tiny little bit of fear because, I'm a smart person, and it's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. But I did predict that they would win. And two teams I was really wrong about this year are the 49ers and the Ravens. I believe that Brandon told us at the beginning of the year the Ravens were going to be good, but he says that every year, and he's really
a Ravens
usually
fan.
right.
Yeah, that's not
right.
Yeah.
So, but I was wrong. He was right. The Ravens are very good, and Lamar Jackson is just different. Like his ability and just body control and what he's able to do on the field is it's just magical to watch. And the Ravens are fun, and running teams are usually not that fun. They're usually a bore fest, and you know that the Ravens defense is always going to be tough, but I just love what the Ravens are this year. It was a huge win over the Patriots, and I love what this year's been for Lamar Jackson because it's everything opposite of what the Browns have done in tanking all those years and setting people up for failure, and like what the Bengals are and what the Jets are and what the Dolphins are. Like what they do is stay consistently decent, right? Which everyone always says being 8-8 is like the worst thing you can be because you're not going to get a top pick. I disagree with that. I think that you should be competitive and you should be in the conversation every single year, and then you improve on what you built. Because what otherwise happens is you create a disaster of a culture, and then you have to build on top of a marsh. I'm not a builder, okay, but I think it's very difficult to do that. You have to drain the swamp. Anyway, the point is keep your organization running the right way and then build on that. And then it works out. So what they did was they weren't at the top of the draft, and they got Lamar Jackson, who, as Anita said, was pretty talented in college.
Real good.
Did well in college, had a great college career, if we're just going to be honest about it. And there's some weird random scouts who thought it should be a wide receiver, which I feel like they should be exposed. I don't feel like they should be able to remain anonymous.
That's a great call.
Right? Like I feel like when that happens, you have to show your face. You have to own that. And then explain why you thought that, and then address what you've done to become better.
Right, yeah.
Okay? Because that's not fair. It's not fair to the rest of us. If that person it works for my team, I need to know that. That's information I need. Anyway, they have he has the same coach, the same system, the same pieces. They added pieces. They're aggressive in free agency. They built with him. They built the system around him. They put pieces around him that make him better. He clearly improved his throwing ability and his presence in the pocket over the offseason. He got bigger in the offseason. So all that fear about, is he too small? Is he going to be RG3? Nope. His neck is the size of a cinder block now. And I don't have any fear when he runs. Like, I don't want him to take big hits, but I don't have anxiety about him getting crushed.
I'm worried about other people's ankles when he runs.
Exactly. I'm worried about the defense when he runs. And that's great. And it's fun to watch. And the Ravens deserve the success that they're having because they built it the right way and it's paying off. And I despise tanking, and I hate when owners cycle through good players and coaches, and just do the work and stay relevant and competitive and hire smart people. It's not that hard. A lot of problems in life are really not that hard if you just do what you're supposed to do. It's when you try and be the smartest person in the room that you end up making the wrong decision. Most stuff is not that complicated. Like nuclear science, pretty difficult.
Yep.
Brain surgery. What else is hard? I don't know. Building an electric car.
Yep.
Space travel. And even that's becoming a little bit mainstream, if I'm just going to be honest about it. So they're like most
Consumer.
stuff. Yeah. Most stuff is actually pretty simple. That's what you should do. So that's it.
You trying to go to space?
I am trying to go to space, actually. I am trying to go to space.
You're not going to.
When I become rich enough to go to space, I'm not going to say if. When I become rich enough to go to space, I am most certainly taking a space trip.
What are you trying to see up there? It's just like stars and stuff.
Who in here would go to space? Like if you have full, like safe travel. Like clearly, this is a thing like rich people do all the time, right? Like it's not like new experimental thing.
Oh, I got
right?
you. Oh yeah, 20 years into space travel, I'm down.
Like
but
it's like it's like it's like going to Bali. All right, like it's a space trip. Okay, it's gonna take you like a week. All right, you're gonna have to do some extra tests and stuff, but like you can go and it's fully expense paid. Like who's going to space? No.
Well, I need for like 20 years to have passed and people to have returned from space and then still be fine. You know what I mean? Like I need to see it because people could come back and be fine, and then it could be like vape smoke, and then they could be like dying. You know what I mean?
I mean, we've all had vape smoke. It's not that it's I don't do it all the time. Okay, fine. I'll level up. Not space travel, but teleportation. Are you willing to do it before it's been like thoroughly tested, like 20-year testing?
Nah, that's where they're gonna mix up my molecules and shit.
Yes.
Nah, I'm good.
Oh my God, I'm so there. Anything that gets me where I need to go faster, I'm totally in. Like the travel thing, like just I need to be there. Really, you're not even gonna try it?
After you.
What if you see them do like a candy bar, like in Willy Wonka?
A candy bar
comes out fine.
I mean, I'm about as smart as a candy bar, so maybe that might actually work.
Hear ye, hear ye. Jerry Jones is petty. If you were watching Monday Night Football last night at a very crucial moment, Kitty! Meow. I love cats. If you don't love cats, you're weird. That's all I got to say about it. I'm not a huge animal person, but if I had to choose between dogs and cats, I'm picking cats. I'm sorry. It could feel how you feel about it. It doesn't. It's cat people don't care. It's just like cats. We don't care. So this luxurious beast of an animal, Chunky Boy. Meow. As I've named him, which is the appropriate name, right? Like, obviously, his name is Chunky Boy. Black cat, so however you feel about that. I'm not superstitious of black cats because I love cats. And I had a black cat growing up named Jezebel, which, in hindsight, kind of describes my entire personality. I don't know why my parents let me name my cat that. But they're like, you know what? She's kind of dark. We'll let it go. But Jezebel had little white paws, so she wasn't fully a black cat. But anyway, before Monday Night Football was suspended due to this luxurious kitty getting on the field, which apparently like the cats live in the stadium.
Yeah.
And people feed them.
Yeah. I mean, that's horrifying.
Why is that horrifying?
What do you mean?
I think it's wonderful. As long as it's not like a restaurant, you know.
They have multiple restaurants there because it's
there's lots of restaurants at the stadium and like places to eat. But I'm saying like as long as it's not exclusively a restaurant. Like if you ever gone to a restaurant where there's hella cats, it's like
better than rats.
Hella cats, hella rats.
Meow. Better than rats. Cats are there to stop the rats.
Hypothetically. Or there's maybe so many cats because there's so many rats. Depends on how you look at it. But anyway, this cat stopped Monday Night Football for a while. It was a fun moment. Like everyone loved it. And he's completely adorable, which helped. But anyway, the Giants were winning 9-3 before the appearance of Chunky Boy, and Dak Prescott had 84 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. After Chunky Boy exited and play resumed, the Dallas Cowboys proceeded to outscore the Giants 34-9, and Prescott had 173 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. So clearly Jerry Jones said that he had him there on purpose and that he released him at just the right moments. Sometimes you just need a momentum energy changer, and Chunky Boy came through. I need that cat. Earl will definitely not let me adopt this cat. But it was up to me. I would find this cat, who I'm sure has already been adopted. They said that they like managed to grab him and like took him to the vet and stuff. So I'm sure somebody has adopted him. But the one thing that is special about this cat, and the reason that you know this is a special cat, is because cat and dog people do not agree on cats over dogs and vice versa. Like they're very divided. You saw the reaction in the room when I said I'm a cat person. But everyone agreed that this kitty was adorable. So that's how you know he's special, because it takes a special cat to get dog and cat people on the same page.
And to delay a football game, which seems nuts.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, it's his field now.
Probably just keep playing.
We're just living in his house. We're like, you're not going to play over the cat. Meow. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You play around the cat. The cat will move.
Okay. Well, they made the right decision. Okay. Anyway, shout out to Chunky Boy. Meow. We don't even know it's a boy, actually, but I'm calling him Chunky Boy. All right, time for high key, low key. I'm very excited about this one. High key, Odell is still having wardrobe issues, and low key, the NFL has got to chill. So the NFL made Odell and Jarvis Landry change their cleats at halftime. They were wearing these for the first half of the game. and then they made them change into some basics.
Yo, does Odell's shoe have a nose on it? What's going on?
Yes, it does.
Oh
it does.
my
It's
God.
the Joker, and
I
see, it
know,
says
but-
ha 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 on the back,
No,
and
you
that
had to put a nose on it.
it's the clown nose. You know, it's very important, right?
But it's a shoe though. It's not a face.
I
is
like
the
them.
point. Okay.
And I don't even understand what the problem is with these. Like, those are Browns colors. What's the problem?
Most of
But here's what's occurred. The NFL has become the super serious bouncer at the club.
them. Oof.
Everyone knows and hates this guy. He's got the clipboard. He's turning people away left and right, even though the club is half empty. There's a ridiculous, obnoxious line. Everyone is irritated. The pregame buzz has worn off, whatever it was that you partook in to be pregames for the club, so you didn't have to spend as much money on the very overpriced drinks at said club. Even the club owners hate this guy. Your job is not that serious. Your job is to protect and to make sure that the people that are coming in are of age to enter the club, which in most cases doesn't even happen. So that's who the NFL is. They are the super serious bouncer at the club. Just take a chill pill. Relax. This cleat thing should have been solved forever ago. It's such an obvious money-making situation. The NBA has turned the sneaker industry into a bajillion-dollar industry that has control over entire global governments. It's not that hard, okay? People wear shoes. I get it. You can't wear cleats, but guess what? You can't wear soccer cleats either, and soccer has managed to create those hideous slipper devices that people wear all over the world. What are those things called?
All over, like indoor soccer shoes, like futsal shoes.
Yes.
Like the Sambas, but worse.
Yes, just remove those things, and there you got a shoe.
Yep.
That's what they wear on their feet, right?
Some of these are even high tops, so it should be.
Let the guys wear the custom cleats. It's like put together a panel and have them submit their shoe on like a Thursday, or if you play on Thursday, a Tuesday. They get approved. If you wear an unapproved shoe, you get fined like $100,000 or some number that no one could tolerate. And then wear them and then sell them. Enter the sneaker market. Put some little ugly gummy stuff. Like, what are those shoes called? Sambas?
Yeah.
Rubber soles. There you go. You've got Adidas Sambas. And $1 billion idea. It's the biggest sport in the country. It's really not that hard. I promise you, people wear those ugly shoes. Okay? Just let them wear them. Everyone wears them in the pregame. They're all over social media. Fans love them. They're super fun. It's not that hard. Stop trying to outthink fun. Is it fun? Yes. No one thinks these aren't fun.
Give people something to buy.
Sell them.
People
it's
like
not
to buy
that hard.
stuff.
People love to spend money on useless shit. That is useless. Where am I going to wear? First of all, to be very clear. All right, I want to be very clear. Well, I'm excited. I'm not wearing these shoes, but people will wear these shoes. Okay. And it's not that hard. All of the shoes. I can't believe the shoe companies actually haven't figured this out yet. So here's your $1 billion idea. You're welcome. I don't need any percentage. All I need for you to do is to allow players to wear custom shoes so I can stop having this conversation about them getting fined. They're fun. They're all over social media. Don't hit me with that my cleats, my cause 1 week thing. Okay. It's very nice that you do that, but like, just let them do it all season. Let them get their shoes approved. Done. Thank you. You're welcome. Why do I have to solve everything? High key, the Dolphins won a game. Low key, I knew this would happen. One thing the Dolphins are going to do is mess up whatever plan the Dolphins have. That is a given. So I knew they'd beat the Jets this weekend because they play hard and the Jets are a disaster. So now they're in the hunt for the number 1 overall pick in their tanking season because the Bengals currently have it. But that said, congratulations to Brian Flores and the Dolphins. They played hard and they deserve it. And I absolutely just knew this was going to happen. I literally told McIntyre and Colin on the way out of the show on Friday, Mac, just so you know, Jets are losing this week in Miami.
He probably didn't agree with you.
That's for sure. He
as
did
a big
not,
Jets
but
fan.
he didn't like disagree. He was just kind of like, you know. But I was right. And like this is an obvious thing that was going to happen. High key, the NBA season has been lit so far. Low key, y'all gonna put some respect on the Heat's name.
Blah.
It's happening, dude. We are back. First of all, Miami Heat are 5-1. They smushed the Rockets on Sunday. South Beach flew. And second of all, the NBA season has had a great start. Like, all jokes aside from obviously the Warriors. Sorry to T and Heller.
We had a nice moment last night. Happy birthday, Eric Pascal. Big game. So I'm fine. We're fine. Go ahead.
You're handling all this very well, as you should, because you've had a wonderful stretch, so you have nothing to complain
Yep.
about. But the NBA season, aside from the Warriors, has had a great start. The Lakers are playing great, thank God, because we don't have to have this conversation about how the Lakers are falling apart. I just really needed a break from that. The Clippers playing great. The Mavs, the Suns just beat the undefeated Sixers. Booker had 40. Shout out to Devin Booker. The Celtics, the Bucks, the Raptors. It's just a lot of good basketball. That Mavs-Lakers game over the weekend was a wonderful, entertaining watch. I really like the Mavs this year. And, it's kind of, what it feels like? It's like that moment when Thanos canceled half the universe. And then Captain America was like, yo, low-key, we got whales again. And then the Avengers, reversed time and, brought back pollution and the big three. That's that's kind of what's happening here. We're living in that moment where Thanos is canceled and it's euphoria a little bit and everyone's sad, but then it's kind of oh, but we can see the stars.
Yeah,
that's kind of what we're living in right now, right? Everybody does their two teams duo. You following me? I don't know. I thought that was a good joke.
I think everyone else was. I don't know, superhero stuff.
Loser power rankings. Loser power rankings. These are the losers of the week. All right, loser power rankings. Let's start with the Bears. Whew. What a nightmare. Thanks a lot for crushing my bounce back prediction, Bears. Big ol' L from Philly. And Trubisky, that guy, yeah. 10 for 21, 125 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So there's always a bright side.
There it is.
This season, Mitchell Trubisky, passing touchdowns 5. That's last in the NFL. Passing yards per attempt, 5.6, last in the NFL. Passing yards per game, 31st. That's not last, but very close. And then his passer rating is 29th, also not last, but very close. That's among 32 qualified quarterbacks. So he is basically one of the worst quarterbacks statistically in the NFL. They rank 29th in total offense, 30th in pass offense, 27th in rush offense, while their defense ranks 8th in total defense, 14th in pass defense, and 8th in rush defense.
Fighting a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a defender for the Bears, I'm pissed. I'm hot, and that's kind of what they should feel, because I thought that the Bears were going to actually have a competitive season, because even though I don't like Mitchell Trubisky and I don't think that he is a franchise quarterback, their defense is so good. I thought maybe it might balance it out, but this is an offensive league, and that guy is running your team. So I don't know. Finish the season with him, I guess. Whatever. Find a new quarterback next year. Next is the league. Cam Newton is now on IR. That sucks.
Damn it.
Basically, his season is over. And it feels like the era in Carolina is over as well. I really feel like the situation with Carolina and Cam Newton went downhill after the Super Bowl. I hated how people treated him after that Super Bowl press conference. I was always very out on that reaction. I don't think that anyone in that room, and I could be wrong, I don't know everyone that was in that room, but I'm going to assume most of it was media members who have never played in a Super Bowl in their life. So they never had the opportunity to fail on the biggest stage of their career in the biggest moments and then be asked 400 questions by a bunch of people. So I have sympathy for Cam Newton in that spot, and I felt like the way that people reacted to that was very bizarre. And I don't like when the media gets on a high horse, because I'm in the media, so I can say whatever I want about it. And sometimes we just get into spaces where it's you just owe us an explanation. It's no, you actually don't. And sometimes not saying anything is the best thing to say, and you talk to fans the next day or whenever. Fans in that moment are pissed no matter what. So there's nothing Cam Newton's going to say in that spot that's you know what? Now that he said that, I'm not so mad that we lost the Super Bowl. That's not it. So I kind of digress in that spot, but I feel like it kind of just started the Cam Newton hate train, because he was at the top of the world before that. That said, I do still think he has some juice left. He's clearly banged up. Just rest until next year. I hope he ends up with maybe the Bears. Please not the Bengals. The Bengals are going to take a quarterback, though. So
what about the Falcons?
Falcons is very interesting.
It's right there.
Falcons is very interesting.
Very popular in the ATL.
Falcons is interesting. I think he'll end up somewhere, and I hope he has 2 more years of decent to high level play. I could just be hoping there, but yeah. I've always maintained that the league is better when Cam Newton is playing at a high level, because he is just a natural star, and I think it's good for the whole league. So I'm bummed to hear that news, although it kind of felt like they were going to stick with Kyle Allen. Finally, Hard Knocks is some liars, boy. I'm off Hard Knocks. All right, here's the thing. All right, everybody loves Hard Knocks, right? Who watches Hard Knocks?
Mm-hmm.
Players, coaches, probably front offices. I don't know about owners because I don't have a mentality of how that goes. They probably do like it. They just turn teams into just this like, we think every team that's on Hard Knocks is going to be a disaster. And then in some respects, they sometimes are. So it's like a predictable thing. Like Reggie Bush was on the Herd with us earlier and was talking about when he was on Hard Knocks with the Dolphins. Oh my God. Like, however bad it was, I don't know how bad it was for the rest of the country to absorb what was happening with the Dolphins that year, but I can assure you it was 1,000 times worse for anyone in Miami who was watching that. It was a disaster. A disaster. And they were a disaster that year. It made Philbin look completely incompetent, which I don't think he is.
No,
it just was
nice.
So bad. Yeah, he's just very,
nice.
He's very nice. In life, you should be like, I don't know if I can put a percentage on it. Just be like mostly nice.
Right.
Right?
There are times though when
there's
being
times
nice
where you should not be nice.
It's just not, it doesn't benefit you
or anyone.
Yeah.
To be nice.
Yep.
And Philbin is a very nice person.
Yep.
That is true. Anyway, the Browns, I'm going to fully blame Hard Knocks for getting Hugh fired. We fell in the trap with that
dirty.
Because they're no better this year. So you can say what you want about Hugh Jackson. You're no better this year. In fact, I believe you're worse, as I mentioned earlier, because you have so much more talent this year than you did last year. And the Raiders are in the playoff hunt. We thought they were going to be a straight up dumpster fire, like a complete shit show.
A fun dumpster fire, but a dumpster fire.
Was it even going to be fun?
I mean, it was fun on Hard Knocks.
Gruden, everyone was questioning whether that was a good hire. Like, can he handle anything because he's been away from the NFL this long? Going into week 8, they're fully in the hunt, and they're like playing great. Now, they did their best to try and lose that game, all right? I don't know what the hell was happening with that timeout that was called. But like I almost wanted them to lose because of that timeout, because I hate when people make mistakes like that at the very last second when you have an opportunity to win. But they managed to pull it off. So kudos to them. They're a fun watch. I like the Raiders a lot. I'm glad they're playing well, especially because I also hate when the NFL moves teams, even though I've been advocating for a team in Vegas for a long time. So I know that makes no sense. But I want them to play with some momentum going into Vegas so it's not a disaster like the Chargers are in LA, which is a whole nother conversation. If you haven't heard, there's talks of London, and Spanos is adamantly denying that. I think everyone is freaking out because nobody cares about the Chargers in LA. It's just...
They might have more fans in London.
I mean, there's just NFL fans in London. Just talk about it for like 30 seconds. There's a rumor, there's a story in The Athletic that like they're talking about moving the Chargers to London. They've been talking about moving the Jags to London for forever. It's because it's the Jags and it's the Chargers. So if you watch, I don't need to explain it. Okay. The point is, you're uprooting an entire franchise again. All right. Phillip Rivers is not even trying to commute from San Diego to LA, so he's out.
Got to rehire Jeff Fisher for the transition.
I mean, you have to do that, right? Like
that's
as a consultant.
That's the only thing he does.
As a consultant at best. And I'm actually not against it because Heller mentioned off recording that people that he talked to that were at the game on Sunday against the Packers, it was like 90-10 Packers.
In like a small stadium. It's just so that means there's like a couple thousand Chargers fans there.
Right. It's not
they're
good.
Playing at a soccer stadium.
Hey guys, we are doing the Culture Report live from now on. That's T. That's the crew. Donnie, Jeremy, Heller, John. So we are. What's up, Heller?
I don't know. I don't know how to merge it. There's no problem. We're live on. Just tell them we're live on.
We're also live on the podcast. If you don't like watching live on this one,
you
can watch on the podcast, which is a different view. Matter of fact, after you watch this one, then go watch that one. All right, so it's time for the Culture Reports. T, what's the T?
All right, so 2 things Kanye was a part of, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Brunchella and Jesus is King merch.
Okay, so there's Kanye. That's like a great picture. Thank you for that, Donnie. All right, so starting with Brunchella, there was a picture that was distributed to the internets of some very unappetizing looking food. Let me just show it to you there. There you go. So that's some McDonald's bacon right there for sure. And I think that's a sausage. Yeah, that looks like a sausage and some like some pancakes with no pancake syrup, which is, I might as well be a brick. Can't eat it. So anyway, people were charged $55 for this at Brunchella. And then, of course, it was associated with Kanye, and then it was associated with Fyre Festival. Here's the thing. As much as I'd love for this story to be true because it's hilarious, it had nothing to do with Kanye. Kanye did not only not receive any money for the Sunday service that he did there outside of Bethany Church in Baton Rouge. He also, I guess, paid for everyone that performed in it to come. And he didn't receive any money for the food either. It was like a catering service took full responsibility for whatever that was. Styrofoam plates. Anyway, so it didn't have anything to do with Kanye. And just so you know, I am the official arbiter of all facts regarding Kanye. I had the scoop on the Kanye release dates, aka it was made known to me by reading that the release date for the Jesus is King film was going to be the 25th, and then therefore obviously the album would also come out on the 25th because that's the only thing that makes sense. So while it might have seemed like an artistic thing that was happening, it was really just marketing. And now I'm happy to reveal that Kanye was not responsible for that. I also found that out from Team Z and reading. As far as the socks go, that I believe are dear Brandon Newman, I did not know anything about the sale of these clothing associated with Jesus is King. Obviously, Kanye's gonna have merch, but the problem is Jesus is King is a gospel album. So, you run into some moral issues about selling things that are associated with God and what's the right price. 10%, you have to tithe, but does that count when you're buying a hoodie? Who knows? The thing about it is he's selling socks for $55, I believe, right?
Yeah, he recently lowered his price. So on the site right now, it says $20 plus
That's
a digital.
Much more reasonable for a pair of things that you put your feet in that protect from, the perspiration to your shoes.
But I also see crew necks for $170, and I'm just not going to pay that.
Yeah, I mean, Kanye's selling church merch. And church merch. And anyone who has purchased church merch before, it's a stiff t-shirt with a very overly designed logo. And then perhaps a giant Bible verse in the back. But it's definitely not setting you back more than $15, $20. And you're probably giving it in cash directly to, the youth services director. That's usually how church merch goes. So church socks are cheap, very thin, non-absorbent ribbed socks. If you've, we're not talking to you, Heller, you don't believe in God, but the rest of us, everyone else is shaking their head. Yes. It's actual church socks do not cost $50, and they actually probably shouldn't exist because they're barely socks. All right. So that's my thought on church merch. What's next?
All right. So next, actor, comedian John Witherspoon passed away at 77. I definitely felt that. I feel like everyone loves Pops. Can we all agree?
Yes.
So how did that make you?
Coordinate. Yes.
Coordinate.
I was very sad to hear about this. He was an incredible, influential comedian, and just even he was just so unique. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of comedians now that are kind of not interchangeable, but it's what you're gonna get from them, and he is just so special and unique. You can never ever have another personality and just talent like him. And for me, obviously everyone thinks about his role in Friday, which was incredible, but I mean Boondocks, the fight with Colonel Stinkworth, Stinkmeaner, and new shoes. I mean, he has so many amazing quotes, beyond just the coordinate one, which is obviously a go-to, but he was the best. And it shook the sports world as well. Obviously, Mohamed Sanu had some pretty awesome cleats, which I'll show you now.
He did his little end zone celebration with the fingers too, pointing. Yeah. It's pretty great. Hit him with one of these.
Thank you for that.
One of those right there.
But rest in peace, Pops. He was definitely a legend. All right, what's next?
All right, so the trailer just dropped for Bad Boys for Life. That's set to hit theaters on January 17th, 2020. I've definitely been waiting for the sequel. I think the trailer is fire. I'm excited about it. What about you?
Well, I love the trailer because at the end it has my birthday.
Hey.
January 17th. It's a great day. They're going to make lots of money just because of that. Best of luck. I'm very excited about it. I'm obviously going to see this movie. I love Will Smith, and, Bad Boys is a legendary movie franchise. But also, on a personal note, they shot most of it in Miami, as you can see. And so I'm going to know lots of people because there's going to be lots of extras in this movie. So I'll definitely be like, oh yeah, I know her. And that'll be fun because there's a lot of working actors and models in Miami, and I'm sure they're going to have a bunch of awesome cameos. I'm going to guess Dwayne Wade at some point. Marino had a pretty good cameo in Bad Boys 2.
Test driving the Cadillac.
Yeah, let me know how it drives. It's a great line.
Classic Marino.
King of the Dolphins. But it looks fun. It looks like a Bad Boys movie. Like, it's not gonna make you think too much. There's gonna be a lot of action, great lines, and Will Smith continues to kill it. So I'm very excited for that.
I am too.
Yeah.
And Vanessa Hudgens. I mean,
Vanessa Hudgens is in it.
she is.
Vanessa Hudgens is in it. Yes.
So when I saw the High School Musical reference, I was just like, how are they? What's that about? So, but I guess it was about her because she was in the movie.
Like the
sleuthing.
scoop team.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Culture Report. Thanks for watching, guys. All right, thanks for joining us this week on the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast. Thank you again to Anita Marks for coming on with us. You can follow us on our social pages at Maybe I'm Crazy Pod. You can subscribe on YouTube. We're on the iHeartMedia app, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we appreciate you listening. Catch you next week.
Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.